Happy to be joined now by the head coach for ULM women's basketball, head coach Scotty Fletcher. Coach, back out on the road again, back in a pretty, historic setting, a real cool opportunity for this program, the first ever meeting between the Warhawks and the Hoosiers. So obviously a lot of excitement as far as the matchup. And coming into this game, similar type of experience with previous opponents versus Mississippi State, Alabama. What have you learned about your team during this stretch as you prepare for yet another Titanic matchup?
Well, it seems just like yesterday, Josh, you and I were visiting after both the State and Alabama game. And I do remember very vividly us having a conversation right after those games. And we talked about just having one bad quarter or a stretch during that quarter that kind of the game got away from us. But when we went back and watched film, we actually did some things really good, seriously. We rebounded the ball. Like I said, we only got out-rebounded +3 on the offensive glass. I was really proud of that. I mean, you're talking about back-to-back SEC opponents that are going to play in the NCAA tournament. Both were NCAA tournament teams last year. They're projected to be high seeds again this year. So we executed at times really good. Obviously, we got to be a little bit strong, a little bit better with the basketball. But there's some things that we can clean up. Film is your best friend, especially if you learn from it and grow in the right direction. So we may not have been on the right side of the scoreboard, but there's some things that we did really good and we can get better at. And I always say this too, sometimes you can win the wrong way, right? And sometimes if you are going to be on the wrong end of the scoreboard, you want to make sure that you do it the right way. So I did think that we did some things the right way, even though we weren't on the right side of the scoreboard, because you don't want to win the wrong way. And those are things that we've taken and said, okay, we're going to make sure that we're aware of these things. We're going to be accountable, add a little bit more discipline in our tank, and see if we can get better because of it.
Coach, one of the things that you mentioned that I wanted to circle back to was the turnovers. I know that's been something that you guys have been trying to work on as far as, again, it's type of competition you're facing. You're going to see a little bit of an uptick in those. And, of course, the saving grace has been the seasons you guys have been forcing turnovers as well out of your opponents. But as far as on the offensive side of the ball, what are some of those things that you've kind of been emphasizing with your team in order to improve in that area?
Well, I definitely think a little bit of our opponent has to play with that. So I think you got to give credit where credit's due. The biggest thing is I don't think our point guard play is reflecting the experience of Asia Ennis and Nakia Mays Prince. Obviously, that's a position, and I played in college. I understand the value of that position. And that's point guard's an extension of the head coach, and they got to be a coach on the floor. We've talked about our body language at times, our leadership, and just valuing the ball. I do think our style of play from a pressing up-tempo, there's certain times that we try to make, a home run play versus just a fundamental play and make this pass to get it to that next person and move the ball from one side of the court to the other. So we've watched a lot of film. We've met with them. We've had individual meetings as groups, as the point guard groups, and we've just set better goals. And at the end of the day, they've owned it. They know they can be better with the ball. I just think we're dribbling into the trap a little bit versus getting away from the trap. Our angles of our passing, we've looked at that on film. Our angles have not been the best. So just some small details, honestly. But if you don't clean up those small details, they can lead to bigger details. And the biggest thing, we just had too many empty possessions. If we have 21 turnovers, but if we cut that down to 15, that's 6 more possessions. If you shoot 45% from the field, now that's 6 to 8 points that you leave on the table that you could have added to your score. So that increases your margin of error, and you have a bigger window. You and I have talked about that. So that's something that we're trying to improve on as well.
Coach, let's get into the keys to the game. Indiana, again, a spectacular brand in college basketball. This is an interesting dynamic for this Hoosier team. They're led by a spectacular scorer leading the way, one of the top scorers in the nation. But they're a young team. They're still kind of, figuring some things out as far as their season. They're coming off of a loss in their Big Ten opener at Illinois. What do you expect out of the Hoosiers? And as far as what you want to do, what is it that it's going to take from this team in order to continue to hang with them here on the road?
Yes, sir. Well, I think there's just a lot of excitement in Bloomington within itself with just their football team and obviously just a history here. And obviously their coach does a phenomenal job. She's all-time winningest coach in their program. Their scorer, number 10, Shay, does a phenomenal job. We got to limit her touches. But the biggest thing is we've got to let our defensive activity, our athleticism, our traps, our aggressiveness, we got to get back to our pursuit of the ball and the way we fly around. We proved that we can turn over 2 SEC opponents at a high number, and 2 of those games are their highest turnovers on the year. So we've proven that we can turn over an elite caliber team and elite talent. We just got to be connected. We got to create our own home court advantage with that bench over there. We've got to be 14 players strong, plus our coaches. So we got to create our own excitement and energy. We got to have major discipline, supreme discipline. We got to have laser focus. But we got to rebound the basketball. We got to value the basketball. We got to execute both offensively and defensively, and just see if we can make it to where there's some pressure on them. They're undefeated at home. So obviously we know we're walking into a tall task and a tall challenge. But more so, man, just having a great defensive activity, making sure we're rotating, are really good on the backside. If we can do those things, man, who knows? Maybe we make a shot here or there and make it interesting.
Well, Coach, you know what they say, you don't get a second chance to make a first impression. I'm really excited to see what you guys do here in this first ever matchup with the Hoosiers in the historic Assembly Hall. Going to be a great day. Good luck here tonight against Indiana. Thanks for talking with us here on the pregame.
Yes, sir. Appreciate all you do, my man. I love you, brother.